all of that's true about Biden. How did we get him? Because he hid in his basement. That's what Fetterman is trying to do. And make no mistake here, we got more good news for Herschel Walker, second poll that has him up. If they can flip Pennsylvania, because there is not going to be, there's the incumbent stepping down. If they can flip Pennsylvania, Pat Toomey is stepping down, then it makes it really, really difficult when you look at the board for Republicans to take back control of the Senate. We know Joe Biden managed to get elected president basically hiding in his basement. Instead of actually getting out and having to discuss all of the issues of the 2020 presidential campaign, Democrats blame COVID. They hit him in his basement. And I think the decrepitude and dementia of Joe Biden has stunned many people because they were able to stage manage him in a way where it wasn't that evident. I don't think it's a coincidence that Biden went on vacation for a month. His overall approval ratings ticked up a little bit as people didn't see him. And now he's going out, decides to cut off student loan, is trying to make the case for Democrats in the fall. And every time people watch him and see the things that he says, they're less inclined to believe that he's competent. So there's a big, bright, flashing warning sign here. And that warning sign is you need to be out and about and prove that you are physically capable of holding office. And in Pennsylvania, John Fetterman, the most radical left-wing Democrat nominee for the Senate in a battleground state's history, and I don't think that's an exaggeration because this guy is effectively a Bernie Sanders acolyte. He has said that he would stand behind everything Bernie says, that he thinks Bernie's right about everything. He is not willing to campaign against Dr. Oz because he says, health-wise, he is not yet recovered enough from the stroke that he suffered in May. Now, Buck, you and I, we are in favor of everybody getting healthy. Let's make that clear. I hope that he has a long, great life. He lives to be 90 years old, and he recovers from this stroke and is able to continue for his family and for his own life's sake. But you can't elect someone who is not healthy enough to conduct a debate when, as a senator, your job is basically to analyze and debate issues. I don't think, Buck, this guy is healthy enough to go to Washington, D.C., and serve a 6-year Senate term. And I don't think it's even close. And so now what they're trying to do is, I don't know if you've seen some of these videos, now that they've said they can't debate because they're not healthy enough, they're like, oh, Dr. Oz is picking on us because I'm not recovered from my stroke. And I'm like, wait a minute, Pennsylvanians, how are you going to vote for a guy who is even less healthy than Joe Biden to represent you in a 50-50 Senate? This is absolute malpractice that he is still in this race. He should step down because he's not healthy enough to do it. We need to make sure that people are aware of what's going on in Pennsylvania.
You're not a victim, as the Fetterman campaign is claiming here, when your opponent points out that you are choosing to stay in a Senate race that you are not healthy enough to be in. Right? You cannot use this as a shield against criticism, which, for example, The Guardian, the British paper covering U.S. politics, writes, the Oz campaign again mocks Fetterman's health in Pennsylvania Senate race. You're not allowed to duck debates and say I'm not healthy enough for it, and then say, hey, you can't point out that my health is an issue. But there's such a dishonesty in this because they're trying to pull a Biden maneuver again in a number of these different races. They're certainly trying to do it in Pennsylvania, where the narrative pushes the candidate forward. It's almost like generic Democrat. We're just convince as many people as possible to vote Democrat regardless of who the candidate is. And then when you find out the candidate isn't who was promised or isn't even up for it, as we've seen with Joe Biden, too late, fooled you. I mean, I really think that Joe Biden, as a president, is somebody who was elected under false pretenses. I mean, I think that this is the way that he was positioned, the promises that he made, the narratives that the media was pushing in his favor and in his defense were all just giant lies. I mean, this notion that he's going to be a uniter, that he's a moderate. He hasn't governed as a moderate. The first stuff he does when he comes into office is straight out of the AOC wish list. He cancels the Keystone XL pipeline. He pushed a vaccine mandate on everybody as though that was somehow at a national level. I mean, that was the nightmare scenario for vaccine mandates, really. He went for it. There's been nothing moderate about this guy. Just wants to do $1 trillion student loan package here of bribing voters, bribing Democrats.
Solely based on executive order, which is unheard of, Buck. We've never seen anything like this. No legislative approval.
And then the climate giveaway with the massive expansion of the IRS. This is the worst tax and spend tendencies and obsession, really, of the Democrats on display for all to see. In what way was Joe Biden a moderating influence on his party? No, Joe Biden is the dishonest used car salesman who goes around telling everybody, hey, I'm old and I like cops. I knew cops back in the days, and we've got
the blonde hair.
We got the original. Is this the greatest Biden moment that you can think of? At least, is this in all of Biden's blunders? Is this your favorite?
I think it's the most incompetent and weird thing that anybody running for president has ever said. The entire corn pop story, but this blonde hair leg bit is, I can't believe this is the president of the United States.
And by the way, I sit on the stand and it get hot. I got hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down so it was straight, and then watch the hair come back up again. They'd look at it. So I learned about roaches. I learned about kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
I mean, it gets weirder every time I hear it.
We need to play. It is, the whole thing is, it's like Grandpa is lost his mind and maybe is a weird pervert. That's like that entire segment there of that discussion. This is the president of the United States. And this is not, people used to sometimes get mad at Trump for what he would say, Buck, but Trump usually was making jokes, right? And the media that would get so angry didn't understand that he was joking. Trump
is objectively super entertaining, very clever, and often hilarious. I mean, you can disagree with all of his policies.
Yes.
Trump was able to come up with nicknames on the fly for people that derailed political careers, right? I mean, low energy Jeb.
Poor Jeb.
When was the last time you heard about low energy Jeb, right? I mean,
the exclamation point did not help for Jeb.
Did not get it done.
No.
And we sit here and we have to be told that Joe Biden, who you remember under the Obama presidency, and there is some book apparently now that says that even Obama, which makes sense, because why wasn't Biden even really thought of as the heir to the Democrat?
Over into Hillary.
Right.
Yeah.
That he wanted to dump Biden for Hillary because he realized, he's like, who is this clown who just sort of blabs on endlessly? Obama recognized.
Yes.
I mean, Obama is smarter than Biden, a lot smarter than Biden. I mean,
they're not even in the same stratosphere.
Not even the same league. And so you sit here and you say, hold on a second. We used to be told, oh, it's just Joe being Joe. And he was this sort of, union, blue-collar Democrat from Scranton and all this sort of stuff. And now this guy is president. You say, that was just all bullcrap. I mean, the whole thing with Hunter is a mess. He's a nasty guy. He's a bully. He's not smart. He doesn't have good ideas. He's corrupt. And this is what we've got?
So, okay, all of that's true about Biden. How did we get him? Because he hid in his basement. That's what Fetterman is trying to do. And make no mistake here, we got more good news for Herschel Walker, second poll that has him up. If they can flip Pennsylvania, because there is not going to be, there's the incumbent stepping down. If they can flip Pennsylvania, Pat Toomey is stepping down, then it makes it really, really difficult when you look at the board for Republicans to take back control of the Senate. And even CNN, this is Michael Smerconish, I believe, discussing, hey, Fetterman can't just hide and blame his health issues for why he's unable to debate against Dr. Oz. Listen.
I think that they were not initially forthcoming about exactly what had transpired. That's pretty well documented. The media campaign that he's running, both paid media on television and social media, is exceptional. I mean, it's really struck a chord with people all across the country. But in the end, I think he's going to have to come out and play. In the end, I don't think he can win the campaign, Fetterman, by simply running an organized social media or paid media campaign.
Yeah, in the end, he can't just rely on the lib propaganda machinery to carry his sweatshirt cladness, into the finish line. He can't do it.
You say as you sit in a hoodie in the studio.
I mean, my hoodie's cool.
But that is his entire campaign is, I'm a blue-collar Pennsylvanian. He bought his house for $1 from his sister. His parents paid for his entire family to be able to live throughout their 30s and their 40s. He nearly died in May from a stroke. He can't speak coherently. I hope he gets well. But what in the world are Pennsylvanians thinking? Fetterman's way out of line with the state when he says, hey, I'm a big-time Bernie Sanders supporter. We're putting people in prison for too long. He said if he could change one thing, did you see this quote? That he would end life in prison so that everybody, no matter what they did, would get out. I mean, these are real quotes that he has. He thinks that men should be able to compete against women in women's sports. He's way outside the mainstream just on his positions. But when you combine that, Buck, with the fact that he is so unhealthy that he can't even engage in a debate, how in the world can you sign him up for a job, high stress, for 6 years to represent the state of Pennsylvania?
I mean, the two pillars of Democrat reelection strategy in contested states, right? Not in, Marin County, California. The two pillars of their strategy are hide the candidates from public view as much as possible, it seems, meaning don't let people figure out who they are and lie about who they are. Because if people actually know what they're getting with some of these candidates, when I say people, obviously the Democrat left is going to vote for any Democrat, but I'm talking about anybody who is persuadable in any direction. The more they learn about this Democrat slate of candidates, the more they're going to say, I can't do it. Can't do it.
Well, Fetterman, for all the criticism of the Senate candidates for Republicans, which the media has just been deluged us with, Fetterman's by far the worst of all the candidates, and he's the least healthy, and he's the most radical of all of them. How in the world is Pennsylvania going to make this choice? I don't think they are. There were double-digit numbers out there. Latest poll has it down to 4 or 5 points. I think Dr. Oz is going to power through. And I think Fetterman's campaign's in trouble as we sit here about 2 months out.
Have you ever seen him in a suit and tie, by the way?
No, I don't. What would he wear on the Senate floor? I don't even know. Would he go out in a hoodie and shorts?
He's just going to show up with like a quadruple XL champion sweatshirt, and that's going to be That's
Is there a rule about attire on the Senate floor?
I mean, I'm not a
Kirsten
stickler for dress
Sinema.
codes, but I mean, come on, man. At some point, you're going to be a U.S. Senator. It's kind of a weird deal, honestly. But
I see some of the stuff that Kirsten Sinema wears, and I think partly she's just playing the – because no, man, Buck, you ever been in an office and talked to a guy who's like – I remember talking to an older guy, and he's like, I've got to enforce the dress code in the law firm. He's like, I don't even know what women can and can't wear. He's like, men, you got to wear a tie. You got to wear a jacket and pants. Like everybody, it's pretty easy. The women can kind of take it, like what shoes are appropriate. Yeah. Women may know.
I just, with Fetterman though, the reason I hone in on this is because I think people have picked up on this who are being honest. It's kind of offensive. It's like he thinks he's wearing his blue collar guy uniform. That's what this really is. Hey, look at me. I'm just like you. I wear sweatshirts and I'm it's a costume that he's done.
Yeah.
This guy's lieutenant governor of the state of Pennsylvania, but he goes around. He's created a character. It is a caricature. It is, I'm having trouble paying bills too. Psych, mom and dad pay my bills. That's who this guy is. There's a fraudulence behind it. He's not actually a guy who has had to, get his hands dirty and make it all happen himself.
It's a great point. If he had run a mechanic shop for, 20 years and he had built it up and somehow that's his cachet, his parents paid for his family to live in their 30s and 40s, and he bought a house from his sister for $1. He's a rich kid pretending to be a poor kid to try to appeal to Pennsylvania.
It's a costume. He has this slovenly deportment, this slovenly approach, because it's a costume to appeal to blue-collar folks. I think it's condescending. I think people should see through it.